So we're going to move on. I'm trying to get. I had a little problem with the phone thing there, but now we should have Chris in Boise talking about derivatives of God's nature and everything around us. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just driving right now, driving a truck. So.
Drive safely. Gosh.
Yeah, I'm a truck driver. Well, I have a headset on, so.
Good.
But anyway, so yeah, I had called the show before, and I had talked about derivatives of God's nature being proof of His existence, and I had to rethink everything and try to come at it with like a different approach. So basically, this is all contingent on me believing that there is a God. So it's that God is an agent,
Chris,
and he has said. So there's the laws of physics. There's all these things
Chris,
that we can observe. The naturalistic. Go ahead.
Yeah, you said all of this is contingent on believing in God?
Well, I said coming from what I'm going to explain to you is my belief that there's a God.
Yeah,
so
but
starting out with that. That's the end all. I'm not starting off with that being the premise one, but it's coming from a belief that there is a God.
Okay, so now I'm even more confused because you said it was contingent, then you backed off that to say that you weren't beginning with that, and then you finished by saying you were beginning with that.
Okay, well, let's just say this is all based on my belief that there is a God.
Okay, then why on earth would it have any relevance to us since we don't believe there's a God?
Well, because I think that these are things that can be seen. So the laws of physics, God is an agent, so He basically set things in motion, and things are taking their natural course. But He's set up,
Chris,
in all of these things.
Chris,
yeah, go ahead.
You're telling us what you believe. What we really want is an explanation for why we should believe it.
Okay. Well, can I state the reason? Like the reasons for why I believe this, because you haven't allowed me to.
That's what we've been waiting for.
That's what we've been waiting for from the beginning. Well, why do you believe this? I don't need you to say, "Hey, God is the thing that makes physics happen," because there's no way to demonstrate that, and physics has nothing to do with a God. But you have some reason that you believe that, and that's what we want to know.
Okay, so I think that there's derivatives of His nature in us, a need for love. So there's all these things. I call them spiritual things.
Okay, you can call them spiritual things,
and they can't be measured from a physical standpoint. But
this is a waste.
Everything. Okay, well,
it is. Here's why. Calling something spiritual doesn't mean it. Calling something spiritual doesn't mean it's spiritual. And pointing to things that
that's why I stated. Go ahead.
Pointing to things that you think are spiritual.
Go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
Pointing to things that you think are spiritual that you can't demonstrate are spiritual to say this is why I believe in God. I'd argue that you believe that they're spiritual because you already believe that there's a God and that there's a spiritual component to these things. We need evidence and an argument in order to be convinced of what you're convinced of. That's all we're asking.
Okay. Well, I mean, so this is coming from me just observing things around me and also taking the teachings of Christ. So
are you interested in persuading us? Are you interested in persuading us, in your opinion?
Yes, but okay, so Jesus came from a perspective of spiritual. like the kingdom of God. And these things can't be measured in what we see, but there is some things that we can see around us, we can observe, where, you know, we got these laws that are okay. I know where you're going.
You must know. I think you know, Chris, that this is just completely unpersuasive.
You're saying, well, you're saying how do you make the connection? So that's what you guys are trying to get me to.
We want proof.
Explain.
Yeah, and I also want you to be safe. So we're going to let you go and take some other callers and let you focus on the road, because I think if you listen back to like the last 2 sentences you made right before you realized where you were going, what you'll find is that there's, seriously, do it. I'm not beating you up over it. This happens all the time, especially with people desperately trying to explain things that they haven't fully kind of grokked on their own. Is there was nothing specific or substantive in there. In those last couple sentences, you were like, we have these things and there's something and it can't be demonstrated. There was like literally nothing of substance there. And so take that back and just write down those 2 sentences you did and replace the words something and this thing with the specifics that you're talking about. And that'll give you everything you need to come up with, hey, do I have a justification I can present for these things?
Okay, so you're saying our need for love and treating one another and all these things. I said it again. Okay, because I'm not like super articulate, as you can tell. But
it doesn't matter. What you want to just stick with love? You think that love is the fact that we like love or need love or want love is proof of God?
Well, okay. So I was trying to think about, so I was listening to Richard Carrier, this is kind of off a little bit, but Richard Carrier was saying, you know, if there was a moral God that, you know, if you committed, you know, bad acts, then you would become sickly. And I felt like that was kind of fallacious, because he's looking at it from a physical perspective. So there is a law, and it's a spiritual law, that when you treat somebody poorly, you know, you suffer.
No, there is no such law, and there is no such enforcement of any such law. People have treated others poorly and not suffered for it at all. And matter of fact, people have treated others poorly and benefited from it. That's the history of the world. That's the reality, is that bad things happen to good people, and people who do bad things don't always get what they deserve. There's no karmic justice. There's no enforcement of
I think they do suffer.
No, they don't. Prove it.
Okay, well, I mean, so this is kind of going too extreme, but I'll just pick a whole person that...
Chris, I really think you should just focus on the road, to be honest, because you're not bringing anything new to the table, and we've got other callers to listen to.
You don't think that there's people who do bad things and never feel bad about it and don't get punished for it? You don't think that's true?
Well, I think those people suppress their God-given conscience.
Okay, that's called projection. That's called projection. That is you. That is you giving your opinion about what
is ideal for a human being.
Stop talking.
Everything is ideal for a human being.
Stop talking. You are projecting what you think they feel onto them. You are basically being faced with the evidence that there is no sense of cosmic justice. You are imagining that those people feel bad in order to hang on to this fictional sense of justice that you've got in your head. Let me tell you, there are people who do bad things who don't suffer for it. They profit for it, and they don't feel bad about it. I've watched them. I've seen it.
I agree. I think there is
You agree.
You know,
all right. Goodbye.
Problems. Yeah.
Goodbye. You agree. You just started an argument saying, well, when people do bad things, they suffer. Oh, you think nobody doesn't suffer? Oh no, I think the ones that don't suffer, they're hiding it. Okay.
I just don't think he's really thought it through, and there were no real arguments there. Can we